Hello everybody and welcome to the 4th round of VTuber International VTuber Championship here at the Misano World Circuit. This is the 4th round of we're nearly halfway into the season and there is a lot to talk about. But first things first, let's introduce ourselves to you. I'm Ruby Acosta, I'm a Queen's Design driver, and alongside me is June Ravenmoon. Say hello, June.
Hello, I'm June.
So June, today is a race that will pretty much be decided by, well, your knowledge of the track, which it usually always is, but especially at a track like Misano, not a usual track that most of these drivers will be racing on day to day, even in cars. It's usually a bike track. What do you think about the track yourself, June?
Well, from what I've seen from the scouting I've done in the last couple of days, it sort of has this similar feeling to TT Circuit Essen, where it's very technical, and because it was originally configured for bikes, it's going to be very difficult to find easy overtaking opportunities. I feel like qualifying is going to be so crucial to success.
Speaking of successes, we could talk about the successes of Mirai United VTuber Racing Team, who are on top of the official team standings for the International VTuber Championship with 30.05 points, with Akito Suzugawa and Cobb90 leading a charge. However, Akito Suzugawa, not one of the drivers here today. He is at Le Mans, which is, that other race going on today. The second in the points is Succubus Racing with 284 points. In third, we have Uma Motorsport with 255. Fourth is 239 with fourth is Mirai X Uragano with 239 points. And fifth was Wild Things Who Wants Soda making themselves comfy in that spot with 217 points. Sixth is Katz Racing Team with 168. Seventh is Poda with 160. 8th is Yandere Racing with 148, 9th is Lopen Pro Esports Team Limited with 131, and 10th is Ilma Racing with 118. Group runners ex Ilma Motorsport are just outside the top 10 with 97, and Uma Derby have no points today. So with that out of the way, we are basically getting set to go to qualifying. As I've said before, Akito is not here because he is at Le Mans, but so is Racecat Kyoso, so that's going to be a lot of points lost for those two teams today.
I mean, priorities, you know?
Definitely.
Not every day you get to celebrate the anniversary of one of the biggest motorsports events of all time, especially not a centennial one.
But looks like everybody else will have to contest in today's VTuber GT race, as we're halfway into the season. Maybe not the most important race ever in the history of motorsports, but definitely one that might tip the scales a bit of the standings and of the storylines here for this season.
Yeah, I definitely think this is still a pretty important round for most of the other teams. Since Akito and Reska will be absent for today's event, that's going to be a lot of potential extra points on the table for these other pilots, assuming, of course, they can get into those point-scoring positions.
You have a returning driver, actually. Two returning drivers for today's race. Psycho Kaiza, one of the International VTuber Championship champions. I believe they were champion in Season 3, executing the number 29 car in the Driver 69 Ferrari 296. That very interestingly painted 296 was Season 4 champion, as she, along with the rest of the grid, go out into the track for today's qualifying session. That MLG, I don't even know how to begin to describe that MLG looking paint is looking a little interesting. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, it definitely stands out. It takes me back to the days of the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, you know, we used to see these liveries all the time. It's a bit of a throwback, we'll say.
You see Emilia is warming up her tires. We'll check on Psycho Kaiza. Psycho Kaiza has not exited the pits yet. The Season 3 champion, and a pretty fast driver at that. I believe that they were actually on the podium for last week's VTuber Le Mans at Monza. I was actually there battling with the MSRL team, and they are pretty quick drivers, so it's going to be very interesting to see if either of these two drivers can take the fight to Yukari Kagurizaka. Also, another driver I have not... Actually, no. Williams Johnson is here, so it's going to be a stacked front row today.
Yeah, it definitely is going to be a very stacked front row, but stranger things have happened in the world of the VTuber GT Championship. We'll have to see what happens.
See, Midnight Hurricane, I believe that is a new looking livery for the Uma Motorsports car. Midnight Hurricane has had some pace this season. She has gone through a bit of trials and tribulations throughout the last 3 races, but I believe if she puts everything together, she might find herself on a podium sometime soon. If I'm not mistaken. Let's see.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, a variety of connection issues and other just poor luck. You know, a lot of this isn't Midnight Hurricane's fault, if I recall. Icer
ABR, I think, will be the first to set a lap here. They are ahead of everybody else, and they were ahead of everybody else in the queue. So we'll see. And the number 93 with an updated livery with an Uma Musume girl on the side. Pretty fitting for the Uma Motorsport car.
Yes, very, very fitting.
It's a very fast set of right-handers here. You're gonna have to be really careful though not to get too wide as you come into this really tight, it's almost hairpin-like turn into the last sector. It's a lot of places to cut the track, however, it's a very fine line between cutting it and getting away with it, and cutting it and getting a lap invalidated, or even worse, getting a track cut warning. This track is definitely a little picky with its track limits. You see Icer ABR with a time of 135.200. Emily Anderson immediately goes faster though with a 135.10120. Aaron Vogel with a 136.370. Jin Knight with a 136.872. Moritz Reiniger with a 136.615. A lot of times come in, a lot of them good, actually.
Yeah, but I'm sure they'll improve as the session goes on. You really just want to get in a first lap just to make sure you get on the grid at all.
We'll focus back on one of the drivers that just crossed the line now. Moritz Reiniger is on a pretty good lap here, though that lap will immediately get invalidated right as I say that. As I say, that turn right there in the first sector, exiting that first sector, is actually really tough because it's such a tight left-hander, and there are pretty big sausage curbs that can really mess up your line, and well, overall, just invalidate your lap. As I said before in the beginning of the broadcast, this track was more made for bike racing, motorcycle racing. MotoGP and World Superbike race here yearly. It's not really the first track you think of when you think of international GT racing venues, but it is here on the calendar, so the VTubers will have to deal with it.
Yeah, especially, I would especially think that the first and final sectors are especially difficult. Curva del Carro, that's the name of the final hairpin. The lead up to that very much reminds me of Algarve, if you're familiar with that track. You've kind of got a bunch of like sharp right-hand kinks that then follow up into a very slow hairpin, and if you get the braking wrong for that, that's a lot of potential lap time lost.
we'll go on board here with Yukari Kagurizaka, who is on a pretty good lap, actually. She is pretty much up about by, I'd say, as she misses her braking point there, I believe. She was up by 7/10. However, she completely lost all that time. Still improving here, but it's not going to be enough to catch Williams-Johnson here.
Yeah, that kind of proves my point about the final corner complex, then. Yeah, you really got to nail the apex on that hairpin. It doesn't look like much, but you lose so much time being even a car width off.
We see Emily Anderson on a better lap here. It might not be enough to topple Williams-Johnson off of that top spot. Well, actually, coming out of that corner, she's gained about 8/10, so we'll see where she ends up coming out of the final corner here. So far, so good.
She's looking really good.
Nearly over a second up, and that, I believe, should be pole position for now. Yes, it is. A great lap from her.
That's going to be a tough time to beat, I think.
As you see, Frankie Nguyen, my bad, not Aaron Vogel. Both in McLarens, both on the same team. Nguyen goes wide, so that is the lap time deleted. However, Nguyen was on a pretty good lap there. We'll go to Blanc.
Unfortunate.
We'll go to Blanc for Yozaki, who has been doing a pretty good job this season. Been pretty consistent. Not like outright fastest driver, but I mean, being consistent is definitely better than being just fast.
Yeah, I think a lot of modern sim racing series put far too much emphasis on driver pace, which I guess is understandable at the absolute top level, but I think in a series like this, you have to keep your nose clean at all times, and that's a lot more important, especially, you know, once we get into the race proper.
So you'll get back to the action here in a bit. See, Frankie Nguyen is on a pretty fast lap. A lot of people on fast laps then all of a sudden just invalidate it. Just proves how hard it is, this track, how hard it is to be consistent, just stay between the lines. People might say that is a downfall of the track's design. However, I mean, it is up to the driver to put on a good lap and not make any mistakes. This Midnight Hurricane jumps to 4th, I believe.
I mean, they did sign up for this. We have to be brutally honest here.
Ice Rapier is on a pretty good lap here, exiting this final corner. They are up about 7/10. We'll see where they end up. Might be pretty good for a 4th spot. Jumping there, Uma Motorsport teammate Midnight Hurricane with a 134.522. A pretty good lap, though Midnight Hurricane is quickly improving on her time.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on Midnight Hurricane for a bit, because I think her story will be very interesting to tell here.
Yeah, to be honest, Midnight Hurricane does have the pace to win one of these things. It's just a lot of bad luck and a lot of just little mistakes that really just add up. I mean, you can have the pace, like I said, but if you don't have the consistency and you don't have this sort of heads-up driving, you really cannot get away from these races with a win. As I say that, she has invalidated her lap at that final sector. So it's definitely going to be something for her to improve on coming to race day, because you don't want those track cut warnings to add up over time. They are just going like by halfway, you're probably going to be surprised when you look probably at the bottom left of your screen and you see 3 track cut warnings already. What? And then you just have to be super extra careful not to get a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, this is not Gran Turismo 7. If you cut so many corners like that, that drive-through penalty is going to be costly, especially in a race with this kind of distance. It's not like a multi-hour endurance race where you can, with a bit of attrition and consistency, climb your way back up the field. This is a 60-minute all-out sprint.
and it's very important that you get pretty much every moment right. There is so much less room for error in a 60-minute sprint. You see Midnight Hurricane coming into this third and final sector. She has invalidated her lap here last time out. Let's see if she can keep it clean and in between the lines. This time, yes, but it looks like she actually got a little sideways there. A little scare from her.
Oh yeah, I would have lost it if I were in her position. That is a big, big, big slide.
And she does invalidate it, and she does lose control there. Just a bad bounce just coming into that final corner, and that lap is just gone. Thankfully, she has 8 minutes and a half left to set another time, but that's just got to be so frustrating for the Chinese driver.
Yeah, oof, you hate to see it.
We've been taking a good look at Ricky Nguyen for the past few minutes, and for good reason. Ricky Nguyen has been on some pretty good pace. However, they keep getting their laps invalidated as well. Hopefully this time around it will be a different story. Ricky Nguyen finally coming out of that final turn with no lap time validated now. This will be a valid lap time. They're going to jump to 9th position ahead of their teammate Aaron Vogel, aka Lithium Fox, for the Ragnar ex-Mirai United VTuber racing team, McLaren 720S.
Yeah, that's a pretty good improvement, I'd say. But I'm sure they're going to want a little more.
We'll take a look at the rest of the grid taking their laps. Keisetsu Fujiwara, also part of Uma Motorsports, in 15th position right now with a 137.795. Doing a good lap, improving their lap time. Moritz Reiniger, however, they have just invalidated their lap, sitting in 11th place. Jin Knight in 8th place. Pretty good result for them today. Sebastiano Rossi just set a new personal best time of 135.470, I believe. I need to check the time in scoring real quick. But yes, they are in 7th place. Sebastiano Rossi is. We'll see if anybody else is on a good lap here. A lot of people just sort of losing time in those later sections of the track. Just goes to show how tough and tight this circuit is, just to be so consistent here.
Yeah, you gotta keep that line extra tight, and like you gotta pile on the lock in some of these corners. It's almost ridiculous. It's almost like driving a rally car in some cases. Although, unlike a rally car, you don't exactly have four-wheel drive, and you know the differentials helping you out.
Looks like Amelia Anderson is on a pretty good lap. She is matching her best. She's matching her delta. We'll see how it turns out coming into this final corner. This final corner is just catching a lot of victims here. Thankfully, Amelia is not one of them. However, this will not be a better time. Amelia will set a 1:34. However, not fast enough. It's a 1:34.360.
Yeah, she's not out of the woods completely. All Williams Johnson has to do is shave a 10th off, and that pole position is no longer Amelia's.
We'll go
of course,
back
at the pace they're pushing, it's easier said than done.
We'll go back to Williams Johnson. Williams is actually struggling a bit in these in the later part of qualifying, as she will pull off and return to the garage, just invalidate her lap time. Yeah, a lot of people are struggling to get these good lap times, and Ikaga Nizaka, who we usually see at the front of the field, sliding that 296 in, also invalidated her lap. She was actually had potential to go faster than Amelia Anderson there, but just keeps going off track. It's really easy to do here.
You think these tight and technical circuits might be something that Johnson and Kagurazaka are perhaps weaker at than their usual fare? Not that that says much, considering how dominant they both have been this year.
We'll go back to Moritz Reiniger because they are on a pretty good lap here. Hopefully they will keep it clean for the rest of the track. Moritz Reiniger in the new 720S. Oh, as I say that, Moritz Reiniger goes off and invalidates that lap as well. It's been pretty much the story of the qualifying session today.
Yeah, those stewards are going to be eating good tonight. That's only qualifying.
I say we are going slow, maybe wanting to build a bit of a gap. Probably their lap, yes, their lap is pretty much gone, so they're probably just setting themselves up for the next lap, which there is not a lot of time for that, only 3.5 minutes left, so whatever you got is what you got.
Yeah, they're going to really need to get going for the last part of this qualifying stint then.
ICAB are also one of the drivers that participated in last week's VTuber Le Mans. At Monza, they set a pretty good time. They were up at the front of the field after the qualifying session ended. However, I believe some bad luck between them and Kaguro Mashiro relegated them to a bit behind the field. Let's see if they can improve their luck today. Matching their delta for the moment. However, it's not going to be enough to even jump a spot ahead of their teammate. We'll see if anybody else is doing a good lap time. Nobody else is really actually on a good flyer here. So, a pretty tough qualifying session here today.
Yeah, a lot of laps got deleted from the database, so many good laps lost.
This might be a good one for ICE or ABR. If they keep it clean. Yes, it's just going to be barely an improvement, but an improvement nonetheless. That's going to be third position. They leapfrog Yukari Kagurizaka and will probably start third. Granted, if nobody else jumps them in the qualifying session. As you see, Amelia Anderson is actually managing to improve on her lap so far. As you see, I think that is one of the other cars. That is Ahmed Imran moving out the way.
I guess this is probably why Amelia
And that
track invalidation.
That is a track invalidation. Thankfully, she will probably have one more time to complete a lap here. But just that one more time.
Yeah, I was about to say this is probably why Amelia Anderson was the champion in this series, but I guess Curse of the Commentator still works even in one's own headspace.
Yeah, it's just such a tough track to be consistent on again and again as I say it, but I say it again and again over and over again because it is true. Just these corners are so tight. It's so tough to just get that trajectory right, and if you go just a little overboard, you find yourself just going wide, understeering off the corner, understeering off the track, and potentially find yourself bouncing off some sausage curbs.
Yeah, I've been surprised with how aggressive some of the front runners have been with the usage of the sausage curve, particularly at the first corner complex.
That is a corner complex you can actually cut the curbs a lot, and it doesn't really upset the car. I've done it a few times, and that's actually an optimal way to take it. But it really depends on the type of car. I don't know if it's better after this update, but yeah, that is the line that you have to take to get a really fast lap. You just cut a lot of that corner, and as long as your left wheels are on the curb, you should be pretty much fine. As we'll see if Amelia Anderson can improve on her lap time. Doesn't seem like it so far. No, she dives into pits. That's it. So Lucas Lipton, the only one outside setting a fast lap. Everybody else is either behind on their best lap, or has their lap invalidated, or they're just in the pits waiting for the qualifying session at the end.
That Bentley is looking surprisingly graceful.
It's a surprisingly nimble machine, that one, as Lucas Lichten jumps Aaron Vogel to finish 11th in the qualifying session so far. Looks like nobody else will be able to jump anybody else in the session. See, Alex Tooney actually got disqualified from the session for whatever reason. We'll see if they will start on the grid for today. But now it is time for the race today. So with everything we've seen so far, what do you think? How do you think this race will pan out?
This is going to be a race of attrition, I feel. There's probably not going to be a lot of huge crashes, but there's going to be a lot of drivers getting penalties, a lot of offs. We're gonna be expecting this to be all about consistency. It was already really difficult to put one lap together, but now you got to keep it consistent for an entire hour? Yeah, that's not gonna be easy.
It is definitely not going to be easy, as we will go down the grid for today's VTuber GT race. Amelia Anderson took the pole in first place, Williams Johnson starting right next to her in second, another Uma Motorsport car, Icer ABR, in the third position, Yukari Kagurizaka, another Uma Motorsport car, in the fourth position, Midnight Hurricane, pretty much what do you call it? Quadrate, like, I'm missing the word here.
I believe... No, quintuplets would be 5. I know triplets is 3, I know quintuplets is 5.
30 seconds?
Well, I'd say maybe just a streak of 4 Uma Motorsport cars from 2nd to 5th, with Midnight Hurricane running them out in 5th, Moritz Reiniger in 6th, Blanc Ryuzaki in 7th, Sebastiano Rossi in 8th, Jen Knight in 9th, Frankie Nguyen in 10th, Lucas Lichten in 11th, Aaron Vogel in 12th, Charles the 14th to 13th, just a position off, once again, David Raoult-Kansei in 14th, Al Dente in 15th, Tateyama in 16th, Kasetsu Fujiwara in 17th, Wyatt Natus in 18th, Tratsuya Integrale in 19th, Saleo Drew Crocs in 20th, iMetrix VTuber in 21st, Jordan Brunch in 22nd, Psycho Kaiza in 23rd. Pretty surprising to see Psycho Kaiza that far down the order, especially being a past VTuber GT champion. Panic Fungus in 24th, and Alex Tooney in 25th, rounding out the field in that number 1 720S, as the drivers will be on their formation lap. So once again, we see Emily Anderson and Williams Johnson on the front row. Pretty stacked front row here.
Oh yeah, you've got a future VTuber champion in the making, as well as an actual champion leading the entire pack. This is gonna be something else, I'll tell you that.
Pretty long pace lap here. We'll pretty much be let's look at some of the storylines today. As we said it before, Midnight Hurricane with great pace week in and week out. However, she has not been able to capitalize on it, whether due to disconnection issues, due to bad luck. Do you think this is going to be her day today?
Well, her fate is up to herself at this point. I think this is a kind of track where you really get to see a driver's true qualities. It's an extremely punishing track, so if Midnight Hurricane can keep her nose clean, I'm sure she'll be able to pull out a result she can be proud of.
Blanc Ryuzaki, another driver to keep an eye on. Very consistent, always there at the end. When do you think he will get his first podium? Will it be today?
Could be. The front runners haven't been super consistent with their track limits. We could be seeing a few drive-through penalties for these front runners. And if Ryuzaki can avoid getting drive-through penalties of his own, then who knows?
And Psycho Kaisa starting way in the back in that Lexus. One of the two Lexuses. We'll be seeing how they can sort of claw their way up the field today as we get ready for the start here. Amelie Anderson just getting through that second to last corner. The car is now going double file. Amelie Anderson on what is now the outside, but it's going to be the inside for turn one. It's going to be very interesting to see how she deals with that. Williams Johnson, always very enthusiastic at the start. Icer APR as well. Yukari Kakutazaka, cool, calm, and consistent. The coolest driver in the Uma Motorsports stable. But, I mean, it means nothing until we take the green flag.
You would hope they'd follow Kagurazaka's example, but we'll have to see if that's the case here.
As we go green flag racing here, Williams Johnson is a little bit ahead of Emily Anderson, sorry. Williams Johnson will actually take that first position. They will go about maybe 3 wide there. They fan out. They all go single file there. A pretty calm start, all things considering, as Williams Johnson takes the lead.
It looks like we may have a potential off in the back of the field.
Emily Anderson with a great dive coming into that turn, but Williams Johnson on the inside. Will Williams Johnson stick it in? Williams Johnson gets a corner just a bit. That might be a track cut penalty.
Speaking of track cuts, we've got a whole bunch of contenders going wide. And speaking of wide, we've got a potential 3 wide situation here. I don't like the look of this.
Icer APR trying to make it 3 wide, trying to go to the outside. Williams Johnson. Williams Johnson has the better exit coming out of that corner. And now they are fighting with Amelia Anderson. Amelia Anderson on the outside, but the outside here is actually the preferred line. Well, Amelia Anderson
pulls out in front.
We'll see if the drag here. This is a really, really tight, like fast, high-speed series of right-handers. We'll see if Amelia Anderson will be able to. Oh, there's an off. Lucas Lichten.
It's Lucas Lichten.
Moritz Reiniger also off. Oh, that is such a horrible start to the race for both of these drivers. Looks like Lucas Lichten gets away with it much cleaner than Moritz Reiniger. Moritz Reiniger was in the sand trap, spinning around 360. Williams Johnson at the end of the first lap has a pretty good gap to Icer APR, though Icer APR, as we've seen, has pretty good pace, so we'll see how this pans out for the rest of the race. June, what a great first lap.
Oh, it's definitely been a bit of a cyclone of chaos in this first lap. Hopefully our contenders have decided to. Oh no! As I say that, it has not calmed down. And that's Trazione Integrale pointing the wrong direction. It's been absolute chaos. What on earth has happened here?
Trazione was actually in a great position here, up to 12th here. Probably avoiding all the corners that just happened that we actually missed. Coming into the first corner, we might catch to see what happened here. Oh, Lucas Lichten probably did not expect Trazione to go a bit slow there. Got into the rear of Trazione and just sent her around. Tough luck for the Italian driver here in home soil.
Oh, that's going to be an investigation from the stewards for sure. That's not a great look for Lichtus.
See, Blanc Ryuzaki up, actually still in that 8th position, keeping his nose closed. Yeah, Lichten, don't worry. Now, right now, battling with Keisetsu Fujiwara, which I don't believe was actually up there in the front at the start of the race. So, a great result for them. We'll check as, yes, Keisetsu Fujiwara actually gained 9 positions from that 16th starting grid. Blanc Ryuzaki dropped just a single position from 7th.
Good heads-up driving from Fujiwara then, because that was a really chaotic series of initial laps. And it looks like we've got multiple retirements on our hands already. I don't see Jordan Brunch anywhere on track right now.
Jordan Brunch is in the pits, not sure what happened there. So is iMentrix VTuber, that might be retirements. Alex Tooney goes off there, but yeah, very interesting to see these two drivers in the pits. Very unfortunate because Jordan Brunch was having a great race last time out, so looks like it looks like his luck won't be, looks like Lady Luck won't be on his side. That took me a bit to say there. Meanwhile, Amelia Anderson still battling with the two Uber Motorsports drivers. Actually, all three Umo Motorsports drivers in the front and behind trying to get... Oh, his Icer APR goes a bit wide there.
That will probably leave them quite vulnerable to Amelia Anderson.
Williams-Johnson has just created a pretty big gap, nearly 1.5 seconds ahead of Icer ABR. If Icer ABR is able to hold up Amelia Anderson here any much longer, I think Williams will be pretty happy with that. As we have
it's a drive-through penalty for Midnight Hurricane. I warned everybody about the track limits being a potential factor for the front runners, and just as I predicted,
that's
Midnight
a real
Hurricane incurred the wrath of the stewards. Oh no!
That is a really early drive-through penalty. That she must have got a lot of track cuts already.
Oh, you hate to see it.
We go back to Executee, aka, well, Executee actually, I should say. Amelia Anderson with Yukari Kaguzaka right behind her. Icer ABR right in front of her once again. Just a stalemate at the moment between these prancing horses. Well, pretty much you could all call them prancing horses, no matter if they're in a Ferrari or not, because most of them are within the Umo Motorsports team. As we'll go right back to, oh no, Jin Knight was trying to make a pass and made contact. Is now just stopped.
Oh no, we've got to check out what happened there, because that looked like a pretty significant incident.
We'll see here Jin Knight already with a bit of damage on that 296 car. We'll see Jin Knight goes a bit wide. Moritz Reiniger sees an opportunity to pounce on that gold and black Ferrari. You see Jin Knight probably was a bit too enthusiastic, or maybe Fujiwara was a bit too slow. Not sure. The stewards will have to look into that one, but at the end of the day, that is Jin Knight with a lot of damage and a lot of time lost as well. The Mexican driver not having a great start to their day either.
That move was a bit short-sighted, I have to admit. I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm sure the stewards will be definitely looking at that.
See Amelia Anderson still battling neck and neck with one of the other Umo Motorsports drivers. Just Umo Motorsport have come out to play this season. They are not messing around today.
Yeah, this is definitely a pretty strong stable of competitors. Any one of them could probably win on race day if the cards fell in their favor. But obviously among them, I'd say Williams, Johnson, and Yukari Kaguzaka are the strongest in that bunch.
You could say they're not horsing around.
Definitely not horsing around.
You see, I'm looking at the timing, and it looks like Icer ABR got an invalid lap. We'll see, and Williams Johnson as well. You have to just wonder how many track warnings some of these drivers are already racked up if Midnight Hurricane already has a drive-through.
Yeah, they've really got to be mindful of those track limits. Williams Johnson has excellent pace, but it's not going to mean much of anything if they score a drive-through penalty from some very, very unhappy stewards.
We'll go back to the league battle soon, as we see Aaron Vogel and Kaisetsu Fujiwara, who was involved in an incident between Jin Knight, now in the clutches of Lithium Fox in that new 720S Evo.
It looks like Fujiwara might not necessarily have the pace to hold off Vogel here. Lithium Fox looking to potentially pounce on that white and blue M4.
Lithium Fox has not had the greatest luck either in this season, so hopefully that they can turn it around today. As
Fujiwara is definitely not going to be contesting that. They've just let Lithium Fox right on through.
They probably have a bit of damage from that incident earlier on. As we go back to Psycho Kaiser, who has already made up quite a few spots. Look here, already made up 10 positions here. So Psycho Kaiser already showing his potential here today.
Yeah, he's managed to stay out of trouble, and if he can keep that up, then he'll definitely be in the top 10. Oh! Yukari Kagunozaka is off!
What's happened there? Oh,
a bit of slide on entry. Couldn't catch it.
Just lost it. That is a very uncharacteristic mistake from a Kagunozaka, actually. They've been pretty cool, calm, and consistent all season long, so that is the first crack we've seen in her armor.
I'm wondering if she's running a brake bias that's too far to the rear. Perhaps locked up the rears a bit and just went off just like that.
And that is such a high-speed section too. Any little any bit of upsetting the car could send you just way wide, and just having to wrangle that car like a rodeo. Not necessarily a horse now, but a bull, a raging bull.
Probably a good thing they're not driving the Lamborghini then. Otherwise, we'd probably subject them to puns related to that.
In the meanwhile, Kagunozaka is in the clutches of Sebastian Rossi. Sebastian Rossi in a good position here. 5th place. A great day so far, however, there are 50 minutes to go, and, you know, that is quite a ways to go in a race like this. So, everything's pretty much to play for. Kagunozaka might be able to gain a little bit of time back and maybe, just maybe, play her strategy right and find herself back in contention for the lead once again. As we see Psycho Kaiser making his way past Keisuke Fujiwara and now setting their eyes on Jin Knight, the Mexican VTuber. Psycho Kaiser already doing a great job, climbing about 11 positions now, about to make it 12 here, as Jin Knight is pretty much just prey.
Yeah, you would have been quite surprised, given that the Lexus has not had the most favorable of balance in, well, ever, if I'm being entirely honest. But this kind of shows that, you know, even with an unfavorable balance, it's still largely about the driver.
Especially with a driver with such pedigree like Psycho Kaiser has, being a Season 3 VTuber champion. I mean, it's pretty unsurprising to see them climb up the order this quickly.
Yeah, it really shows you that tiers don't exist. For those of you who are a little more familiar with the fighting game scene.
So we'll keep it locked on here with Psycho Kaiser, who has been lapping pretty quickly in that beautiful Lexus.
Yeah, that is a really nice looking Lexus.
It's only a matter of time when they will catch Jin Knight. You see a yellow flag. I believe that is Charles the 14th.
Oh, what's happened to them? Looks like they may have spun somewhere around here.
We'll see in the replay here. Right here after that first sort of chicane coming into this, exiting the first sector. Lost it there, just at a pretty slow speed too. Maybe there might be the setup or maybe just too much right foot.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Charles the 14th. Probably suffering from a little bit of a birthday hangover. Happy belated birthday, Charles the 14th. Hopefully your birthday went a lot better than how your race is going today. As we'll go back to 14th, the battle for 13th actually, between Ryoma Tateyama and Al Dente. Al Dente in at number 27, spaghetti looking 992.
I was about to ask if those outlines were like supposed to be like outlines of tracks, but it looks like yeah, it's just spaghetti. Oh no! Al Dente is looking. Oh no! Rob Kautse has gone straight into the barrier.
Al Dente was able to keep it. Al Dente was able to gather it up, but Rob Kautse, that was another story in and of itself.
Oh, that's just terrible. You never want to be in a situation like that.
And it looks like while we were focusing on this battle, Psycho Kaiza has actually gone around Jin Knight. We will stay on this battle for now, however, we will keep updating you on where Psycho Kaiza is. Regarding the rest of the field, Williams Johnson is still at the head of the field, Ice ABR in second, Amelia Anderson in third, Yukari Kaguzaka after that off is still in fourth, however, 10 seconds off of Amelia Anderson, and Sebastiano Rossi is keeping their pace in fifth place, just about a second and a half off of Kaguzaka. And Blanc Ryuzaki, driver we are keeping our eye on today, in sixth place, just keeping it consistent, cool, calm, consistent, clean, which has been pretty much his motto for today. Whoa!
Oh! Al Dente straight into the back of Tateyama! That's going to be massive damage for the both of them! Oh no!
What's happened there? Looks like Tateyama actually got slowed down a bit too much. Maybe just got a little too hot there in that corner, and Al Dente just wasn't expecting it. Just terrible luck for the both of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to think of that.
As you see, a pretty big battle brewing here as they go through traffic between Eister APR and Williams Johnson. Williams Johnson may have actually got caught up in traffic there, so we have a battle brewing on our hands, as Amelia Anderson also caught up a bit too.
Yeah, that was quite a bit of traffic, and it's going to be very difficult to deal with that with a track like this. There's really only one line around here, and if you're not there, well, you're going to be losing a lot of pace and time.
Pretty much if you're not there, you're not anywhere in regards to this track.
And sure, that's probably true of a lot of road racing courses in general, but for a track this narrow and corner complexes this tight, yeah, no.
It doesn't seem narrow from the broadcasting view, but when you're driving at full tilt, there's just the ways that the corners are shaped, the way that the trajectories are, the angles and the radiuses, in order to go faster, it does feel way tighter than it should be, way more narrow, and that's why you see so many of these drivers get track cut warnings, invalidated laps, just to keep on the ragged edge and keep up on pace, especially as Icer APR here is trying to do to keep on the back of Williams Johnson, who might be going down on pace. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe Williams Johnson has burned through tires a bit. Maybe a little lapse of concentration.
It could potentially be backing off from fear of the track limits as well. You know, they must have heard that Midnight Hurricane got dinged for track limits, and they sure probably don't want to be hit with the same thing. At least not this early into the race.
Well, it looks like for now that Williams Johnson is putting the afterburners back on, as she will get a lap time of 135.657, half a second faster than Icer APR. So looks like it was a little bit of a moment of I guess there's a car off there. I'm not sure who it is. A little bit of a lapse in judgment, lapse of pace. Not sure, but they have picked up the pace once again. So a little bit of a scare, but you know, traffic can definitely do that to you. And if you get traffic at the wrong times, you can lose a ton of time, especially if you don't know how to deal with it.
Speaking of traffic and going off, Icer ABR just went off the track there, and that's going to be... Oh, I thought that was going to be Amelia Anderson Pass, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that simple.
Williams Johnson just further up the road now, and now Amelia Anderson has them right in her clutches, exactly where she wants them to be. Will this horse be sent to the glue factory?
The glue factory?
Yeah, I mean, don't horses, don't you, I mean, isn't there a thing where you, like, never mind.
Well, in any case, it looks like Amelia Anderson has Icer ABR in their sights, and looks like they're not getting away all that quickly.
Amelia Anderson seems to be the fast driver at the moment, but it's up to ICBR to mount a great defensive showing here.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Icer ABR is trying to get on the defensive rather than trying to pull away on pace, because Amelia Anderson is going to get a look up here into Curva. Ooh, into the hairpin.
I was surprised that ICBR did not actually dive into the inside to close the door on Amelia Anderson, but it looks like ICBR felt like they had enough pace to sort of leave the gap open. As we see Simracing VTuber getting lapped here. But yeah, I was surprised that ICBR did not go to the inside. I guess that Porsche just has a lot of exit speed. But Amelia Anderson's still not giving up on that position.
Yeah, but there's definitely a... Whoa! Amelia really closing that gap. Going into Curva del Carro.
As looks like ICBR will go for a pretty early stop here. We'll see if it benefits them, but that'll give Amelia Anderson second position. I believe that is the first of the front runners to take their mandatory pit stop in the window. Might have been a good call since they were getting held up by, I believe that was Simracing VTuber, and having to hold off Amelia Anderson. Maybe to try and get fresher tires and make it all the way to the end here. Maybe somehow, some way, leapfrog maybe even Williams Johnson to the lead. We'll see here. See. Sorry, I thought it was Aaron Vogel off the road, but that is not. Psycho Kaiser has pretty much stabilized their gap to 10th position here. Jin Knight seemed to be the faster. They seem to be faster than Jin Knight for a long time. However, looks like that will be as far as Psycho Kaiser goes for the moment. Pretty good position though after starting all the way from the back, getting their lap time validated.
And it looks like Jordan Brunch has managed to get back on track, so that wasn't a permanent retirement.
So for now, a little bit of a calm before the storm, I guess. So, pretty much our predictions right now, Midnight Hurricane, unfortunately, did not live up to, I don't want to say live up to their expectations, but definitely sort of ran into the same sort of trouble they've been running into week in and week out, and it's really unfortunate to see. But I mean, you know, that's just the way these championships go. You just have to be consistent, and you have to keep your nose clean, and you have to sort of keep your eyes on the prize and not be concerned with pace at the moment as Psycho Kaiser goes wide, sliding a bit, able to gather it up, but that'll give Jin Knight the 9th position here.
Oh, what a severe mistake that was. That's definitely cost him not just track position, but probably a bit of tire life as well.
Thankfully, we are near the pit window opening. I'm not sure if some of these drivers will be taking tires and fuel. If I were them, I would definitely be taking tires.
You believe the tire wear is high enough that it's worth it in this event format? Oh, Jin Knight's had an off as well. What on earth is going on? This has been a really rough day for pretty much all of our contenders, and we're not even at the halfway point yet.
Well, the thing is that even though it's a 60-minute sprint, I feel like the way that these tires work, especially around a track like this, especially with the track conditions being so hot, and the way that this track just eats up tires, I feel like it'd be more beneficial to take tires than not. I mean, it's maybe probably like a 15-second sort of advantage if you don't take tires, but I mean, thankfully I'm not one of the drivers there today, but yeah, I'm just it's definitely gonna. Jin Knight goes wide again. Jin Knight goes into the gravel even, but yeah, it's gonna be a decision for the drivers here to make.
I wonder if Jin Knight sustained some damage. I mean, even more damage than they've already got. Is that that Ferrari is not looking okay.
Oh, we have one retirement now today. Charles the 14th just has retired the car, just out of just a personal, sort of discretion. So that is one car out here today. So out of, I believe that is like 24 cars, just one out. Some pretty good numbers still. You see Keisetsu Fujiwara in the pits now, taking their mandatory stop. So, with almost halfway to go, Williams Johnson still leads the field here. Amelie Anderson just nipping on the heels of the Illinois Motorsport driver. Yukari Kagutazaka after an uncharacteristic off and spin in third position. Sebastiano Rossi in fourth. Blanc Ryozaki in fifth. However, it is to note that some of these front runners have taken their pit stop. Icer ABR being the biggest one, who was in second position before they took their pit stop. So we're going to see how this all pans out. All this all fans out after the pit cycle's through. We've definitely seen some drivers take their pit stop late into the running. Some of them, like Icer ABR, taking them much earlier. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where this all plays out as Lucas Lichten takes their pit stop with nearly 33 minutes to go. So they'll be another one of the front runners to take their stop as Midnight Hurricane, bad day just going a lot worse as she spins out.
We've had a lot of spins today. That's in quite a bit of contrast to Suzuka and even Zolder, actually. We haven't had a race like this where a lot of minor mistakes are just compounding for some of these contenders.
And you could see it in the gaps. I mean, like, the people who have made mistakes and the people who haven't. I mean, look at Williams Johnson and Amelie Anderson. Just a pretty big gap between those two and Kagutazaka, who has made a mistake. And also, for example, I believe, such as Aaron Vogel and Seiko Kaiza and Moritz Reiniger, also another big gap. Just a race of attrition here today.
Yeah, well, I'm not expecting a lot of retirements from crash damage or anything like that today. I think, as I said, we'll be seeing a lot of offs and penalties.
You see Williams Johnson taking her mandatory stop right nearly at the halfway point. That will give Amelie Anderson the lead for now. Jin Knight also one of the stoppers at 32 minutes to go. We'll see when Amelie Anderson will make her stop. Amelie Anderson, I've noticed, is actually a very conservative driver when it comes to pit stops, so maybe we'll see her come in at the later stages of the race. Kagutazaka also staying out. Sebastiano Rossi also staying out as well. Blanc Ryozaki and Moritz Reiniger. That is your new top 5. As we had a quick yellow flag on the circuit, that is Midnight Hurricane again. Maybe struggling with the car now.
Yeah, those tires must be blistered from the spins that she's been kind of subjected herself to. And as you said, the track temperatures are really hot. So I imagine all those mistakes compounded into a lot of tire damage.
As you see now, Amelie Anderson's up to lap traffic, so maybe she will start to think about pitting here now. Not yet, actually. So it's been a pretty interesting race so far. At the moment, not a lot of... And there's a drive-through!
Williams Johnson with the drive-through penalty. What happened?
That might have been either because of exiting the pit lane or because of the track limits penalties. We've been talking about track limits penalties all day. We'll take a look back here to see if Williams Johnson actually did go through too fast into the pit lane here, or exiting. We'll see. It looks so far so good here, exiting the pit lane. Keep in mind the pit exit, the way that it works is that you cannot turn off your pit limiter until right here. That's a long time to keep it on. We'll see if Williams Johnson goes wide somewhere.
Looking good so far. What's happened?
That might have been it. They have gone a bit too. She has gone a little too wide there at that exit of that turn. That is such a hair thin. That's just a hair thin sort of like margin between a track cut warning and not a track cut warning in that corner. If you just get into those sausage curves just a little bit too much, that is pretty much just sort of like race ending. As you see Williams Johnson going through the pits to serve her drive-through penalty. Just unfortunate, really unfortunate today.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. Well, actually, I'm not that surprised considering one of the other UMA Motorsport drivers also got a drive-through penalty very early on in this race. So it has been a race of restraint as Yukari Kagutazaka pulls into the pits here.
We'll see if Kagutazaka will be clean coming out of this pit stop, because the rest of her stablemates have not been as clean with the stewards, or as actually she goes a little too far forwards, has to reverse. So that's a lot of time lost in the pits already. Blanc Ryuzaki also in. We'll see how this shakes up.
Well, we know how much time you lose in stock car racing when you pull even a quarter of a car length too far forward. So, you know, even though pit stops aren't as urgent as in that other discipline, you know, that still costs you a lot of time once you get back out on track.
We'll see where Amelia Anderson is at the moment. She is nearly at the end of this lap, as you see Lucas Lichten take a really wild ride through that turn. We'll see if she will pit at the end of this lap. If I were her, actually I wouldn't know what to do if I were her, but I would definitely take my pit stop right at the halfway mark. I feel like any more you would, and if we have an off here, that's Psycho Kaisa.
Oh, Psycho Kaisa, you were doing so well earlier this race. What's going on?
Because as I was saying, I feel like for these races, the later you leave it, the more time you lose, because of just how actually I'm not sure, but I feel like splitting it in half is probably the best way to do it, because the more you stay out on those older tires, the more that you sort of leave your pit stop till later, the more time you potentially lose if you're, you know, stuck behind traffic, stuck behind another driver. Though if maybe if you think you have the pace to sort of, to bear through it, maybe it is a good option. Who knows?
Well, it really depends on how the tires are reacting to the wear and all that. Like, if you're not suffering particularly very much from wear even in these conditions, then it's still reasonably profitable to stay out late, as long as you're not getting held up too much by back markers.
As I've learned, tires aren't actually a big problem here. It's as there's not much of a difference between not taking tires and taking tires. So really, it's just a matter of whether it's more time on track or just getting out of the way of traffic. As Amelia Anderson comes into pits with about 26 minutes and a half left. We'll see where she ends up in regards to the whole field. We'll be looking at her gap between her and Kagutazaka. Kagutazaka at the moment, I believe, at the final few corners of the circuit, I think.
Stop and go penalty for Rossi.
Rossi.
Oh, no.
Oh, Rossi was having such a great race. As I am mistaken, it looks like actually Kago Tozaka is actually at the beginning stages of the lap, so my apologies there. But yeah, Sebastiano Rossi, after just a great race so far, all of a sudden that just comes to an end with a stop and go 30. That's a lot of time lost.
Yeah, drive-through is bad enough, but 30-second stop and go? Oof. Yeah, that's probably gonna put you a lap down.
As I see Williams-Johnson trying her best to fire her way through the pack after that drive-through, she has Lucas Lichten and the penalized car of Sebastiano Rossi to go through. A few other drivers, Blanc Ryuzaki also up the road, and Wyatt Natus, who has actually been doing a great job, though they still have yet to pit, so we'll see where they end up. But, yeah, as we see, oh no!
Oh
that
no, Williams-Johnson! And Lucas Lichten just had a bit of a bit of shoulder to shoulder, and that's what's happened.
Yeah, Williams-Johnson just way too enthusiastic going to the inside there. Lucas Lichten just not enough space to make a move there. That is just a day gone from bad to worse for Williams-Johnson, as the stewards will not take that lightly. Not lightly at all. I mean, not a good way to do yourself any favors there.
Yeah, I'm sure Johnson must be extremely frustrated with how their race has gone so far. I mean, if they are, then I can't say I blame them.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's no reason to to take everything, you know, as it says on her car, like a torpedo. I mean, you got to keep your cool and to not make matters worse for you. I mean, that's maybe like a 10-15 second penalty, maybe even worse. So you're gonna find yourself way down the order, even more than you first found yourself with the drive-through. As I see, Moritz Reiniger taking their pit stop, so they will let their second place go to Amelia Anderson. Amelia Anderson quite a ways away from Heister ABR, so we'll see how that gap goes for now. We'll take a look at Emily Anderson for now and that driver 69 car. Wow,
ooh, that was a little too close between Sebastiano Rossi and Amelia Anderson.
Yeah, that definitely would not have been a great outcome if those two have gotten together. They were pretty closely and pretty fast, and that would have ended in tears. Thankfully, both of those drivers end up clean, especially after Sebastiano Rossi just served their stop at go 30.
And that indeed put Sebastiano Rossi down a lap. Ouch.
Meister ABR, and I believe net second, as Aaron Vocal has yet to take their pit stop. So a pretty good showing from Meister ABR today. Maybe not where they wanted to be in terms of track position. 6.5 seconds down the road from Amelia Anderson, but still a great result for the Motorsport driver regardless. Yukari Kago in a net third. Kago struggling today relatively to the rest of the season. But still, a podium result could be pretty good here as long as they don't make any other mistakes. Because Blanc Ryuzaki is there, being as consistent as he usually is.
Yeah, if these front runners keep making mistakes, we could be seeing a Ryuzaki podium today. It's not completely out of the question, because I mean, Midnight Hurricane got smacked with a drive-through. Williams-Johnson got smacked with a drive-through. If any of these other drivers in front of Ryuzaki make similar mistakes with the track limits, it's not completely impossible for Ryuzaki to take the podium places here, just from keeping his nose clean.
And that will definitely shoot up Ryuzaki in the driver standings, as I've not actually taken a good look in the driver standings before today, but I mean, you definitely got to be in a good spot, especially being as consistent as he's been this season, as he does his best lap of the day, a 135.7570, not as fast as Williams-Johnson's best lap of a 134.340, but you know, as we've seen today, Williams-Johnson is just down in 6th, so all that pace is pretty much all for naught, though I shouldn't say all for naught, as Williams-Johnson is still in a sort of good points-paying position, but we'll have to see how the standings play out after the post-race penalties are applied, if they are applied, to Williams Johnson after that contact with Lucas Lichten in the penultimate corner, I believe.
Yeah, that would be the Curva del Rio, I think. Actually, no, Curva del Rio is in Sector 1. That's Curva del Caro that's in the final sector. My bad.
You know, all these corners are pretty much flat and are sort of samey-ish, so I wouldn't blame you for getting them as... There's a car off, I think? I don't know if that's a disconnected car, but... Yeah.
Who is that?
Yeah,
Can we have a look at that? Who is
Midnight
that?
Hurricane is disconnected again.
Yeah, this is not... You know, I don't think it would have mattered if it was a connection issue or if that was just her throwing in the towel. I mean, I can't say... if it's the latter, I can't say I blame her. It's just not gone well today.
It's been a tough season for Midnight Hurricane. Been promising with the pace she's been showing, but just, you know, bad luck and just, you know, mistakes happening over and over again. Just have to feel for that driver. As here, Blanca Ryuzaki is about to lap Jordan Brunch, and that Lexus. Jordan Brunch not having a good day either, but, you know, keeping his nose clean, so it's not exactly all too terrible. You know, that car is pretty shiny front to back.
Yeah, which is quite a strong contrast to quite a few of the competitors here. So there is that, I guess.
Blanca Ryuzaki might have to fend off Williams Johnson here for the position, even though there might be the possibility of post-race penalties for the number 10 Emerald Motorsport driver. I mean, you still gotta fight for all it's worth, as Moritz Reiniger is another victim of the track limits penalty as they get a drive-through.
Oh no.
There is the number 34 car driver. Just unfortunate, a lot of drivers just getting hit with those penalties. I think the only driver that hasn't been hit with a drive-through penalty, that hasn't been hit with a specific track limits penalty, was Sebastiano Rossi, and that was for pit speed limits. You see Kaisuto Fujiwara is in the pits again. I'm not sure why. It might be because of damage, but their car looks clean, so I'm not sure why they're in the pits for now. We'll have to see after the race what's happened there, but for now we'll keep an eye on Williams Johnson and Blanca Ryuzaki, as that is the closest battle that we have for you at the moment. Not a whole lot of on-track action today. A lot of the on-track action has been, well, actually off-track. It's been in the steward's room.
Yeah, a lot of what's been going on has largely been due to track limits, you know. But that's not necessarily the track's fault. The drivers, you know, they signed up for this. They have to be aware of this.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something you have to practice for. That's something you have to be, you know, consistent about. You have to make sure, you know, where are the limits, and just be really careful as to not incur the wrath of the stewards, as you say. So, I mean, that's another skill set in which you have to learn. I mean, you know, sometimes it is a bit frustrating that the track limits are there, and that they are so finicky, but I mean, that is just another part of racing. And, like, it's unfortunate, some people really hate it, some people wish that, you know, the track was, like, grass just all around, or sand all around, but, I mean, you just gotta live with it.
You know what Devin Butler says. A poor works person blames their tools.
And that is quite true today. I mean, you can't go around blaming your tools if you, the driver, can't make the best use of it.
Looks like Ryuzaki's going to be held up just a bit here.
I believe that was Soleil Drewcox being lapped, as Williams Johnson will be sure to mount an attack, though this time, hopefully, a lot cleaner.
Looks like that may be Trazione Integrale ahead of them. Physically on track, not actually in the standings, unfortunately.
Trazione Integrale doing a good job keeping her nose clean in 17th. after that little incident, I believe, in the opening stages of the race. So it's good to see her at 17th, just minding her own business, doing her own thing. You know, a round of applause to her, and just doing her best.
Ryuzaki potentially on the defensive as Johnson perhaps looking around, sniffing around, looking for the gap.
But Johnson has to be really careful here. I mean, you do not want to compound penalty after penalty here, especially coming to this corner where she has actually sort of had that contact with Lucas Lichten in that Bentley. As another drive-through penalty comes in for Ryuma Tateyama.
Oh dear, it's gone from bad to worse for them, hasn't it?
And
Speaking
Lucas,
of drive-through...
yeah, Lucas Lichten.
Oh no. Yeah, hate to see it, but again, that's when you get track limit penalties, that's entirely on you. You cannot blame anyone else but yourself when that happens.
I mean, you could sort of in frustration blame the track, but I mean, the track's there. I mean, it's not like it's plotted against you as Williams Johnson looks to the inside, trying to get a move on Blanc Ryuzaki, but just the gap's not there yet, not close enough. But yeah, I mean, just something you got to practice for. Another thing you got to practice for. Another thing you have to sort of look out for. And so it's unfortunate, but it's something that's avoidable. As Williams Johnson is now side by side, looking to make a pass on Blanc Ryuzaki. Might be able to make it here. Blanc Ryuzaki hopefully does not cut the gap too much. Actually gives Williams Johnson enough space to make the corner. And actually Williams Johnson got a little loose in the exit, so that allows Blanc Ryuzaki to take that position back and able to slot right in front of the Chinese driver.
That's some good heads-up driving from Ryuzaki. Some good, solid defensive work. Very much not compromising their momentum while still being just in the right position to compromise Johnson's attack.
And Williams Johnson is definitely a hard driver to defend against. Williams Johnson's always over enthusiastic, always like a torpedo in a good way, and sometimes maybe in a bad way. But you know, you can't undersell how great of a driver Williams Johnson is and how much quality they bring to the VTuber GT Championship.
Oh yeah, definitely not denying Johnson's a good driver.
As you see, I believe that is Wyatt, one of the new drivers, Wyatt Natus, as one of the lap cars here, moving out of the way for Blanc Ryuzaki here, as Williams Johnson was able to take advantage of Blanc Ryuzaki getting caught up behind that lap traffic car, as Williams tries to go to the inside, again not be able to get past. Maybe this time, once again, Williams will be able to keep it clean on the exit and mount the pass into this next corner here. Pretty good corner to make your move here, as I mentioned VTuber, another drive-through penalty victim.
Suddenly, a lot of drive-through penalties cropping up.
It makes sense at the end of the race here because, I mean, you probably have a lot of these warnings accumulated.
True, true. Ryuzaki really doing a good job just staying consistent. Johnson just cannot find a surefire way past. And I'm sure she's quite conscious of the events that unfolded between herself and Lichten.
Williams Johnson, I mean, it looks pretty evident that Johnson is the faster driver, but I mean, you still got to get past another car to take the position. You can't just be faster.
Yeah, I think to quote an old saying, catching a competitor is one thing, but to actually overtake them is another entirely different thing.
And that's not to put down Blanc Ryuzaki's pace either. Blanc has been doing a great job today. And I mean, obviously, you see Williams Johnson just creeping up to the back here as Williams Johnson takes the little nick on the inside. That was nearly disaster once again. Thankfully, Blanc Ryuzaki is able to gather up. Williams Johnson has able to slot back into the 4th position. We'll see where they'll end up after the race, but, you know, thankfully, a clean pass for Williams Johnson as Blanc Ryuzaki just could not hold back that Uma Motorsports driver any longer.
There could have been potential contact between the two, but I don't know. It didn't look particularly over the top.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of physical running.
Yeah, just a bit of a racing incident there. You know, it's as Midnight Hurricane once again is off the road. Just a tough break for her again and again. I almost feel bad for covering these mistakes. Psycho Kaiza, going back to Psycho Kaiza in the 8th position. Great race for them today after starting from way back in the field. I believe that is, I have to check the stats here, that is 14 positions gained over the span of this race. So a great job, even if they are not on the podium like we expected for them to be today. Still cannot put down their efforts. We'll go back to Emilia. Let's go ahead, sorry.
I mean, perhaps they might have been if they decided to qualify, but you know, some drivers like to hunt for a little challenge, you know?
I don't know if it was a intentional challenge or something that they give themselves after getting an invalidated lap over and over again, as we saw in the qualifying session, just a lot of drivers getting these invalidated laps. But nonetheless, a great result for Psycho Kaiza, despite the spin that they had earlier, as Emilia Anderson just, you know, putting on a clinic today, looking like Kagurazaka in the early stages of this championship.
Yeah, Amelia Anderson definitely showing a lot of maturity.
Emilia Anderson with championship pedigree, definitely showing that today here at Misano.
Even if her livery perhaps doesn't reflect that, but hey, can't judge a book by its cover.
Thankfully, no 360 no scopes, so we see somebody else off the track. I'm not sure who that is. We'll have to see once the camera pans around here. Apparently not.
Those looked like pink end plates. Was that? That
Panic.
might have been either Panic or... yeah.
Panic.
Okay, it was Panic.
It was definitely Panic.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was Panic or iMentrix because they both have pink end plates, if I recall, and I only saw their end plates.
Panic Fungus doing a relatively alright job, relatively to the whole series. They are quite a bit down on laps, but you know, a finish is still a finish.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere.
As Trazione Integrale, another driver that we cheer on week in and week out in the pits. Not sure what happened there. Maybe too much damage, or, you know, just left the pits too late, or not enough fuel, but just unfortunate the way that her race has panned out. As the pit window is starting to close, thankfully everybody has taken their mandatory pit stop, so no fear of penalties regarding that matter. As we look at Icer ABR in the 2nd position in that number 93 Porsche 911 with the Uba Musume Atasha on the sides.
That is a quite nice looking Porsche, I do have to say.
So I believe that is Moritz Reiniger letting a few cars pass. I have to check. Yeah, there's only about, I'd say... Oh no!
Uh-oh. I did not like the look of that. What happened? Bit of miscommunication, it looks like.
That was really strange, actually. You know, I wouldn't expect Moritz Reiniger to cause that for anybody, but I guess, you know, maybe a little bit of lapse of judgment, a little lapse of concentration. It happens sometimes, but that nearly was disaster for the 2nd place driver there.
Yeah, if that had resulted in disaster, that would have been a very, very poor look.
Another driver that we will praise today is Wyatt Natus, a new driver here today, I believe, for the VTuber GT Championship. In 13th position, right down in the midfield, which some people might not be satisfied with, you know, but for a new driver, especially against the caliber tier of drivers here in this series, I mean, you know, even for VTuber drivers, this driver lineup is just so fast. You got to be proud for yourself of finishing the race, first of all, and second of all, getting a good top half finish.
Here's the thing. Just because, you know, quite a few of these competitors are VTubers, both inside this championship and outside of it, does not necessarily mean the quality of their competitiveness is lesser, as competitors like Kagurazaka and Johnson show.
We'll look down at the rest of the grid for now. Not a lot of on-track action. Everybody is pretty calm for now. Panic Lungus had a yellow flag for them for a moment. However, that flag has lifted. Sebastiano Rossi, after recovering from a stop-go 30 in 11th position, not the worst of places to be after such a penalty.
True, but I'm sure they would have rather not had to take that penalty in the first place. It's going to be a lot of what-ifs for that driver's story.
Jin Knight doing a good job of holding down that top 10 position, doing a great job, the Mexican driver, Mexican VTuber, I should say, in the Loped Esports car, teaming up with, I believe, Blanc Ryuzaki. Those two drivers just being pretty consistent, keeping their nose clean, keeping everything pretty tidy in order, and it's showing today, and it's benefiting them as they are getting lapped by Emilia Anderson. But I mean, Emilia Anderson is nothing to sneeze at, because like she is a pretty fast driver. So I mean, no shame in being lapped by her, I would think.
I mean, Amelia's pace has been like laser on point consistent this entire race. I don't think she's put a foot wrong at all today.
We'll also take a look at Aaron Vogel today, Lithium Fox. Great result for them so far today. Still 5 minutes to go, but after just the streak of bad luck that they've been combated with each round, you know, this is a relief for the driver.
Yeah, Lithium Fox, you know, they could have potential to be a really solid driver.
And to note that Lithium Fox actually is not an ACC regular. You know, they are on iRacing most of the time, so that is also another good thing to praise them about. They are pretty adaptable to this platform, and they're doing a pretty good job putting in some respectable lap times. I believe that last lap was their best yet. So, hats off to them. Good job from the Mirai XE Wagoner car.
Yeah, a lot of, you know, even though racing sims are getting more and more realistic, you know, there's still sort of this sort of muscle memory, even if you drive a car from the same category, even identical models, if the sim supports it, you know. So to be able to switch between ACC and iRacing, which are almost like two completely different worlds despite their presentations, you know, that's a skill that a lot of drivers surprisingly don't have.
As we see here, Sebastiano Rossi might be able to recover a top 10, even though they probably wanted more. That is still a good result if they are able to get past Jin Knight here for the 10th position. So a battle between two prancing horses, not of the Uma Motorsport stable, but between two different teams, Lopen and Poda Motorsport.
Yeah, it looks like Rossi is catching very quickly, but it's going to be very difficult to line up a good pass here.
Especially in this corner here. This corner is pretty much single file, but actually some of these next corners are actually pretty much single file, so you pretty much just have to be patient or wait for the others to make a mistake here. So the best you could do is just maximize your speed out the exits and make sure you don't lose track of the car in front. Make sure you don't lose some time yourself, because you can easily lose a lot of time battling another driver.
And it looks like Rossi's going to get past without too much of a contest here.
So Jin Knight isn't out of it yet.
Yeah, oh, Jin Knight's going to try to mount a counterattack, gets the look, but can't quite get the space.
They have one more chance at it, though Sebastiano Rossi is quickly pulling away. Jin Knight goes a bit wide there, and that might be the end of that. It depends how Sebastiano Rossi will carry on the rest of the lap, but looks like Sebastiano Rossi, in the end, after even that 30-second stop and go for speeding in the pit lane, they will be able to secure a top 10, which is pretty okay for a point today. Could have been a lot worse, you know?
Yeah, it's good damage control from Rossi.
With only just a couple laps to go, I believe this lap will be... Either this lap or next lap will be the white flag for Emilia Anderson. Yes, it is. The white flag is out for Amelia Anderson. So just one more lap for the driver 69 driver to make around this Italian circuit in the Italian car. Not everything lines up, as I believe Emilia Executi is Swedish, but, you know, it's close enough.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we got the most critical components correct.
As you
Also,
see.
for some reason, I thought this track was French. Yeah, I know.
To be honest, it does. To be honest, it does share a bit of similarity with Paul Ricard, just because of how much runoff it has. But I mean, actually, in terms of if you compare them together, Paul Ricard has way more runoff, like way more runoff.
I guess the clue I should have gotten was from the names of the curves. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all.
That's some very strange French there. Almost sounds like Italian.
Oh, well.
Oh no! Oh
no! Well, what happened between Lichten and Stazione Integrale has been no laughing matter. What's gone on here?
We'll have to get back to that later, as an executing Amelia Anderson, a past champion of VTuber GT, takes the checkered flag once again for the Italian V-Prix. A great result for that driver today. Icer ABR finishes second for the Uma Motorsport stable. Yukari Kakurizaka still able to find herself on the podium, and third spot, the final spot on the podium here, just behind, with Williams Johnson following just behind. However, Williams Johnson, we don't know if Williams Johnson will be able to keep that fourth place, as Blanc Ryuzaki is the next car to take the checkered flag. We'll look back at Lucas Lichten, actually. Let's see where they are ended up here. A lot of damage on the front end of that Bentley, but they seem to be going on just fine. Trazioni just, you know, tough break for her today.
Yeah, it's just that. Did they perhaps think the race was already over for them? What's gone on? That's quite strange.
We'll have to check back on the replay, but you know, that's such a tough break for the Italian driver on home soil. As Aaron Vogel, Lithium Fox finishes 6th, a great result for that driver. Lucas Lichten, despite that trouble in turn 1, will finish 7th here today. Psycho Kaiser, after a great battle at the front, that is good. That is not good.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh come on!
That is a not on. I'm not sure what happened there. We'll see Jordan Bush getting caught. I don't know which of the McLarens that is. I'll take a look real quick. That is the number 34. I believe that it's Moritz Reiniger. And caught between another McLaren. Alex Tooney, I believe. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Well, actually, Moritz Reiniger might have actually just, like, forced the situation a little bit, but Alex Tooney on the outside sort of just, you know, didn't let Jordan Bunch have enough space. So, I mean, just a tough break for Jordan Bunch, just not a good day for them. But overall, a great day for Amelia Anderson in the number 29, driver 69 Ferrari.
Yeah, that was a very nice drive from Executi.
Just a fantastic racer, a fantastic showing from that driver. June, how do you think, just from your predictions today, how do you think this race has shaken up?
Well, as I predicted, we did see a lot of, like, subtle attrition, I'll say. Like, a lot of... I did predict a lot of drive-through penalties, given that, you know, we had so many drivers with invalidated laps in qualifying, and as it turns out, those turned into lots and lots of drive-through penalties. In fact, I think that was definitely a lot more than Zolder or Suzuka, so yeah, this was a very technically difficult race.
We'll have to catch up to see there what happened to Trazioni Integrale and Lucas Lichten, because that was a pretty unfortunate incident there. We will take a look here in a moment. We'll see here just coming up into turn 1. Maybe she thought the race was over. Maybe... Oh, Lucas Lichten actually got into the back there.
It looks like Integrale just slowed up way too early. I don't know if she was just trying to let Lichten through or what happened there.
Just very, very interesting to see how it all shaped up. But regardless, just either way, despite everything, just what a great race from Emily Anderson. She really showed up today.
Yeah, I'll definitely concur with that.
So see, coming back to the live camera here, so with all that said, it turned out to be a fantastic race. Once again, thank you for everybody for tuning in. June, any last words before we head out?
No, I'm just looking forward to the next event and seeing what story we'll be able to tell next time around. Never seems like a dull moment in the VTuber GT Championship.
So, with that said, thank you for watching round 4 of the International VTuber GT Championship. Here on tracc.eu, we definitely do have a lot more series to get you involved in. If you are a VTuber, you can definitely participate in this championship happening on Saturdays. Every other Saturday, there's actually Track GT. If you are not a VTuber, you can race with the rest of the track community. And we also have the Touring Masters on the original Assetto Corsa involving DTM and BTCC Super Touring cars. So if you want to get your racing fix on, definitely check out tracc.eu on Simracing.GP. So from me and June, thank you for watching today, and as always, we will see you on the racetrack. Goodbye for now.